It's Christina from Card Making Magic. All these cards are big cards, but they all have two things in common. One is they won't fit into a standard envelope because of the height to the flowers, and the second one is they're freestanding cards. So let's make a flat card that is just as pretty, will stand on its own, but will fit into an ordinary sized envelope ready for you to post. Now before you start to make your card, you need to decide on your colour scheme. So I've decided to go with a pink and green colourway for my card. Don't worry about mixing patterns. As long as you stick to 2 or 3 colours within your scheme, then everything will work out fine. So you can mix spots and stripes and checks and florals, and as long as you stick to the 2 colours within that colour scheme, they'll all work fine. But to marry them together, I always mat and layer mine onto the card that I'm going to use to make my card. So again, as long as you stick within the range, everything will marry together. So this is a standard sized 8-inch envelope, and I need to make a card that will fit inside that to be posted. So all I've done is I've taken an A4 card and I've cut it down into an 8-inch square, and that will fit inside the envelope. Now I've cut 2 pieces the same, but I can pop one on one side because this is the piece I'm going to work on to start. So what I've done with this is my chosen paper, and it's a beautiful pink and green with white, and I've cut that down so it leaves a small border around the edge, and that's my first panel. Now for my second panel, I've used some spotty paper and I've layered it onto the same card, and I've done a third layer with some more spotty paper, but in the same pink, green and white colour scheme. And I'm going to use a large paper doily, and I've also printed off a digital image and I've coloured it with pro markers. Again, I've matted it onto the same pink card, and she's going to sit on the front of my card. So I've added my second layer onto the top of the large mat. I've sat the doily down at an angle, and I'm going to put the other matted and layered piece just there on the card so that the edge of the doily is just visible. And all I'm doing is adding those in place now, because before I put the image on, I need to add some ribbon to the front of this card. So everything is layered flat on the card, and this is the ribbon that I'm going to use. So I've cut a piece that will go across the top and a piece that will go along the bottom, and from the rest of it I've made a little bow that's going to sit on the card. So I'm just going to add these to the card with some super sticky double-sided tape, and I'm going to fasten them on the back of the card so that the workings won't be visible when the rest of the card is put together. So I've added the ribbon to the card with double-sided tape. I've glued the bow in place, and I'm going to choose a little flower centre for the middle of the bow just to hide the knot, and I think the pink one is better, so I'm going to glue that in place. Now the topper is going to sit just there, and that's the only little bit of height in the card. I've added double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to pop her just there in the middle. Now I've stayed with the pink theme for the sentiment. I've added some double-sided tape and I'm just going to pop that at the top of the card. Now there's no reason why you can't add the bling to a card like this, and this bling is from a company called Want to Scrap. Now it comes in sheets like this, but you don't have to use the whole swirl on one card. So what I've done is I've cut my swirl into pieces, and I'm just going to use parts of it to be added to the card. So from that pack of swirls, I've actually used this on about 3 cards. So these are the pieces that I'm going to use on this card. Now the same thing applies to the hearts. The hearts are also from Want to Scrap, and they come together like so. But if you cut them apart, keep them on the perspex, cut them apart, you can play around before you stick them down to see whereabouts you might want to add these hearts. And don't be frightened of cutting the hearts up. What I've done is I've cut a piece off that and I've used it as the bodywork for a butterfly. Once you've had your dry run with your bling and you know where you're going to add it, just peel it off your sheet and you're just going to pop that on there. I just need to trim this bit off here. You're just going to pop that onto your card wherever it is you want to add it, and then if you just press it in place, that will stay on your card. Now the other piece I'm going to put on the other side to look as if it's running through the back of the topper when it's very sticky. So I'm just going to add this to the top part of the card. And there we've got some added bling. The butterfly I'm going to sit at the bottom of the card, and I'm going to use the other swirl as the butterfly's trail. So in each of the corners I'm just adding another gemstone, and that just finishes the front of the card off. Now we're going to complete the rest of the card. So once you've completed the front of your card, pop it on one side, because if you remember you cut 2 panels the same. Now you're going to work on the one that will be glued to the back of this card front. So you're going to need to measure in 1/3 from the left, 1/3 from the right, and 1/3 down from the top. It doesn't need to be precise, you don't need to worry about measuring, just a rough guide. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut a slit down each of those sides, and that will give you this kind of look to your card. Now once you've done that, you're going to just strengthen this panel. So all I've done is cut just a smaller piece, and I'm just going to glue that on top of this panel. Now once you've done that with the centre part, you're going to add glue around the outside edges of this. Don't glue down that centre flap. And this is now the bit that's going to be added to the card front. So take your card front and line it up and press it in place so that it's all glued together. And because you've used a wet glue, it gives you just a little bit of time to manoeuvre it around. Now once that's glued in place, this will open out to support your card. But to make sure that it doesn't open out too much, you're going to add another piece in the centre there. Now you're just going to take an odd piece of card, the same colour, you're going to, again, it doesn't need measurements, you're just going to fold 2 ends in and then fold it in half so that you have that kind of a shape. And then with your wet glue, you're just going to add some glue to each of the 2 outer flaps. Then if you lift this panel up, you're just going to pop that in place there, push it down and press the flap on top. And if you hold it just for a few minutes until it's, or a few seconds rather, till it's dry, then that card cannot open any more than that, so it will never fall flat. So there is your finished card. It's flat, it will fit inside an envelope, and there is the mechanism again for you to see. The card won't fall flat, it will stand, and it's just as pretty as one with all the flowers on it. Now before you pop your card into your envelope, you can use the back of it to add a verse or a sentiment, who it's to and who it's from. You can even add your name at the bottom of the card so that people know who's made it.